But one farmer says, seems to me there was a tea party in Boston that was illegal too.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold.
We shall seek to establish and maintain a dollar which will not change its purchasing and debt-paying power during the succeeding generation.
As anguished shrieks rose up from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
Government credit and government currency are really one and the same thing. A reserve of gold and a small reserve of silver.
Why do central banks hold it?
Well, it's a form of reserves.
Why don't they hold diamonds?
Well, it's tradition, long-term tradition.
Well, some people still think it's money.
We're living in unprecedented time.
You can say that
In
again.
a time of a pandemic like this, it is way too easy to get confused and to have fear about what you should be doing with your money in your accounts, especially as you're looking at the volatility in the stock market and the financial sector. This is what I would like you to take away from this. Your money is safe at the banks. The last thing you should be doing is pulling your money out of the banks now, thinking that it's going to be safer someplace else. You don't want to be walking around with large wads of cash, and you certainly don't want to be hoarding cash in your mattress. It didn't pan out well for so many people. And I will tell you this, no depositor has lost a penny of their insured deposits since 1933, when the FDIC was created. So if you're talking about having your money in a safe place, please keep it in an FDIC insured bank.
It's difficult to know where to begin. And in the words of the FDIC, we are in unprecedented times. California saw 1 million unemployment claims in less than 2 weeks. The FDIC is begging citizens and depositors to not withdraw their money. I don't believe they've ever done that in the history of the FDIC. Come out pleading with the American people to not remove their reserves, because it's difficult to practice fractional reserve banking when there are no reserves. I mean, how else are you going to lend out money that you do not have and fractionalize it? Makes it quite difficult, as a matter of fact. They're panicking. The video from the FDIC and the article we're going to read here in a moment is a clue into the level of panic and hysteria taking place in the financial system and in the economy as a whole. So don't put your head in the sand here like an ostrich and ignore this and think that everything is going to be okay. Sure, they might be able to right this ship for a while. They might even be able to correct it temporarily. But just like the last crisis in '08, this one exceeds that in severity and is far worse. If they somehow can create another bailout bubble and patch the holes that are leaking this ship currently, the next time, 5 years, 2 years, 10 years down the road, when this pops again, the level of that catastrophe will be even worse than the one we are in now. That's a big if they can correct this situation. I mean, we're seeing things take place in the news that I never predicted, never anticipated, even in my worst prognostications of prognostications. In all the information that we've ever read and digested, all of the economists that we've gone through in the articles over the last several years, never before did I consider what we're seeing now all coinciding. And every day we wake up seeing headlines and news articles and stories reporting on the instability of the financial system the way it is today. Checking in on a 5-day chart for silver, it's looking good. It's up 42 cents today, $14.68. We're going to talk about metals a little bit, obviously. We're here on the Junius Maltby channel. We have to. Gold was down a little bit today, but since I took this screenshot, it's back up in the green. Gold is, again, back in the green today, and you can see silver finished in the green there earlier, up at $14.68, as we just reported. And then there's this. Look at this. This comes to us from Market Watch. There is no gold. Bullion dealers sell out in panic buying. We've covered this story. You're aware of it. There are places you can get it, and I'm going to share that with you. Of course, that's one of the services here on where to get gold and silver. The Junius Maltby channel, as I hunt it down and try to find it for the subscribers and followers here. So this is, again, from Market Watch. Let's take a look at this real quick. You guys are already quite aware of the situation that exists. The supply side contraction, mines being shut down, refineries being shut down, mints being shut down. And then at the dealer level, bullion essentially unobtainable. And I'm actually going to have to admit something here. Gold is more readily available currently, in my opinion and assessment, than silver. Silver bars and silver rounds are almost non-existent. I cannot find readily amounts of silver at the major dealer level. However, JM Bullion has several thousand or 1,000 ounces or more, and I can prove it, of gold in stock right now. I know they have 960 gold buffalo, 1 ounce gold buffaloes available at the $1,777 amount. Now, Market Watch is sharing with us that the real price is near to $1,800 spot for gold, if you can get it. That's if. There's no gold, says Josh Strauss, partner at money manager Peck and Hardy Strauss in Chicago. There's no gold. There's roughly a 10% premium to purchase physical gold for delivery. Usually, it's like 2%. I can buy a 1 ounce American Eagle for $1,800, said Josh Strauss. $1,800, and he's got an exclamation point there. Major gold dealers have sold out of coins and gold bars amid panic buying as the U.S. economy plunges, and the government agreed to a record $2 trillion emergency lifeline. Now, this is coming on the tails of Trump recommending a $6 trillion stimulus and bailout, and this is not going to be the last one. And just for the sake of thought here, if they had gone with the $6 trillion bailout, and remember they already did a $1.5 trillion injection a week or two ago to try to stave off disaster, there's only $5 to $6 trillion of gold ever mined since the book of Genesis was written. Above ground existing gold, $5 to $6 trillion worth. That's it. And they were going to monetize and print and inject into the system that amount of fiat overnight with just the Fed, just in dollars. It's not including all of the other central banks around the world that are creating insane amounts of stimulus to try to bail out this corrupt and dying Keynesian system. Kitco, the Canadian gold dealing giant, reported Wednesday that it was out of almost all standard 1 ounce gold coins. American Eagles and Buffaloes issued by the U.S. Mint were out of stock, it reported. Ditto Canadian Maple Leafs issued by the Royal Canadian Mint, Britannias issued by the Royal Mint of Great Britain, and Kangaroos issued by Australia. None of this in stock or available in physical. It was out of Krugerrands issued by the South African government. Those are by far the most widely traded gold coins in the world. Giant U.S. dealer APMEX admits Krugerrands are also out of stock. Deliveries of other coins, including Maple Leafs and Eagles, are delayed due to extreme demand, and it is charging a hefty premium for physical gold. For a 1 ounce American Eagle, $1,788. Meanwhile, over at the U.S. Mint customer service reports, they have Eagles available, but to buy them direct will cost you $2,175. The media relations team could not immediately be reached. Almost nobody on Wall Street has noticed the full price surge for actual gold bars and coins. That's because financial traders mostly just deal in paper contracts for gold. Again, there's a major disconnect here, ladies and gentlemen. The COMEX is broken, in my opinion. The price of paper metal is not the real deal. It is over. The lie is being exposed. Those are basically gold IOUs, a mere promise to deliver gold if the buyer ever wants. We've covered this in the past. Years ago, we did the whole discussion on paper versus physical. Gold is among the most contentious financial topics around. It pits passionate true believers against total skeptics. And we are being vindicated, my skeptical friends. We're the skeptics of the system, the true believers of metal. People get heated and angry on both sides. I would say get angry. I just think you're dumb if you don't believe in gold. Some say it is the only true money. Others call it little better than an unproductive superstition. Then why do you hold it, my dear central banks? The late British economist John Maynard Keynes, God, I hate when I have a little bit of throw up in the back of my throat. It just tastes so gross. Called the gold standard, which pegged paper currency to the value of gold, a barbarous relic of a bygone era. We've seen cash runs, bank runs, people emptying their accounts. I have a dear friend who went to the bank 3 times last week, pulling all of his cash out of the bank. And here we see the FDIC, as the video opened up here on the channel, asking Americans to keep their money in the banks. Yesterday, the chair of the FDIC released an astonishing video asking Americans to keep their money in the bank. Accompanied by soft piano music playing in the background, the official said, "Your money is safe at the banks. The last thing you should be doing is pulling your money out of the banks thinking it's going to be safer somewhere else." well, we just don't trust you anymore, ma'am. Amazing. I was half expecting her to wave her hand and say, these aren't the droids you're looking for. As I've written before, there's $250 trillion worth of debt in the world right now. Student debt, housing debt, credit card debt, government debt, corporate debt, etc. And let's be honest, some of that debt is simply not going to be paid. They're already talking about writing off student loans altogether. Millions of people have already lost their jobs, millions more, like the 10 million waiters and bartenders across America, are barely earning anything right now, which means they will not be spending money into the economy because their businesses are closed. A lot of those folks have no emergency savings to fall back on during times of crisis, so they're going to be forced to choose, pay the rent or buy food. The government has already suspended evictions and foreclosures, which is a green light for people to stop paying their rent or mortgage. And that means banks will take it in the teeth. This is what happened back in 2008, except on a much bigger level. Millions of people across the country stopped paying their mortgages, and the banking system nearly collapsed as a result. Today, it's a similar situation. A lot of people are going to stop paying their mortgages, credit cards, auto loans, etc., and that directly impacts the banks. Businesses are in deep financial trouble too. According to the Wall Street Journal, the median small business in the United States has a cash balance that will last them just 27 days. And many are operating with an even smaller safety net. The median restaurant, for example, has a cash balance of just 16 days. These businesses have been told to close down due to the Kung Flu, and it's unlikely that many of them will ever reopen. A lot of these companies also have debt, and if they close, those debts will never be repaid. Even big businesses are susceptible to failure. Every airline, cruise ship operator, hotel, retail chain, etc. is on the ropes, and each of these companies has borrowed billions of dollars. This pandemic could easily push several big companies into bankruptcy, as well as the banks that lent the money, I believe. You probably know that old saying, if you owe the bank $1 million and can't pay, you have a problem. If you owe the bank $1 billion and can't pay, the bank has a problem. That's what we are seeing now. Countless unemployed individuals, millions of shuttered small businesses, and bankrupt big companies collectively owe the banks trillions of dollars, and many of them can't pay, which means the entire banking system has a problem. How much money will the banks lose because of this pandemic? It could easily end up being hundreds of billions of dollars, even several trillion. I believe it is several trillion at this point. No one knows, but it's not going to be zero. It's silly to think that banks are immune to the coronavirus, or to assume that not a single bank is going to run into problems. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the banking system is about to collapse. There are stronger banks and weaker banks. Many of them will survive, others will fail. What I am saying is that there are enormous and obvious risks that threaten the entire banking system. I added the entire because it truly is. The entire banking system is being threatened right now. As I've written several times over the past few weeks, anyone who says, no, that's impossible, clearly doesn't have a grasp of what's happening right now. I run into those people every single day. Every scenario is on the table, including severe problems in the banking system, but the FDIC insists that there's nothing to worry about. That's ridiculous. The FDIC only has $109 billion to insure the entire $13 trillion U.S. banking system. That's less than 1%. The FDIC also insists that they've always been able to prevent depositors from losing money. Not a single depositor has lost money since 1933, and that's true. But again, remember, they only insure you up to $250,000. And there are people, I'm not one of them, unfortunately, but there's people that have far more than $250,000 in the banks. And even in one account, they only insure those bank accounts up to $250,000. But they've never had to deal with this before. Neither the FDIC nor any bank has ever had to deal with the complete shutdown of the economy. The global economy, this isn't just isolated to the United States, or potential losses of this magnitude. The COVID-19 impact, the Kung Flu, on the banking system could be 10 times bigger than the housing meltdown in 2008. If the pandemic ends up causing trillions of dollars in loan losses, the FDIC won't have enough ammunition to fix it, and that doesn't even consider trillions of dollars more in potentially toxic derivatives exposure. Again, the derivative market is in the quadrillions. That's 1,000 trillions, and that is true. So To casually brush off these risks and claim that everything is 100% safe seems incomprehensible. It also raises an interesting point. Why is the FDIC asking us to not withdraw our savings? Me, personally, I'm of the belief that if the government is telling you everything is okay and to not panic, then you should. That means things are truly not okay. They would not have made that video if things were peachy rosy and all good and it was a picnic in the park. They're making that video out of panic. They are panicking. They truly are. If the financial system is so safe, it shouldn't matter to them whether or not people keep their money in the banks. Yet they still felt the need to specifically ask people to not withdraw their money and tell us that we shouldn't keep cash at home. I'll reiterate a point that we've made again and again at Sovereign Van over the years. It makes sense to have some physical cash in an at-home safe, and I would argue physical metal, gold, silver. I'm not suggesting you keep your life's savings in physical cash, but a month or two worth of expenses won't hurt. There's very little downside. Your bank probably only pays you 0.01% anyhow, so it's not like you will be giving up a ton of interest at home. They don't pay anything in interest because they get the money for free. That's a whole other problem we could talk about. And given that the FDIC is specifically saying that you shouldn't do this, a prudent person might wonder what's really going on. If you live, work, bank, invest, own a business, and hold your assets all in just one country, and again in one currency, you are putting all of your eggs in one basket. Most people are only in dollars, or only in pound sterling, or only in euros. You're making a high stakes bet that everything is going to be okay in that one country forever. All it would take is for the economy to tank, a natural disaster to hit, or the political system to go into turmoil, and you could lose everything, your money, your assets, and possibly even your freedom. This is the foundation and premise of this channel, ladies and gentlemen. Preserving, maintaining, and passing on, and holding your wealth, dynastic wealth, for generations, and to not allow it to be robbed and stolen away by those who inflate currency and rob with fiat. We've seen it. We've talked about the history of this going back over 100 to 200 years, what has taken place, even in the Civil War with the greenback here in the United States. We know where this story ends. Now, yes, metals are getting scarce. They're harder and harder to come by. Many places are sold out. As I shared with you earlier, silver bars are essentially non-existent at this point. I can't find really any silver bars other than the ones I've seen at Scottsdale Mint, and I placed an order. I trust them. I just have not heard or seen anything from them, so I have no idea as to the whereabouts or status of it. But they do say they have them in stock. They're shipping them. Some of you have reported that you received your orders very early, sooner than the stated 2 weeks notice that they're putting out there. Now, JM Bullion, I went on their page, and as soon as you go to JM Bullion's page, they got pretty smart. They have a link you can click on that takes you directly to what is in stock and currently available. I think all of these sites need to adjust their website to reflect that. Don't just have your Notify Me tabs and have it very confusing where you have all of the products, all of the different bullion on the site, but everything's out of stock. When people show up at your website, show them what's in stock because they're there to get metal. Here on JM Bullion, when you first get there, I don't have a screenshot of the opening screen, but it says, what's in stock. There's a big tab you can click on. So I clicked on it, and here you can see they have a fairly good amount available and in stock. They've got Buffalo's, beautiful, good coin, 4.9 gold. It's a go-to. It's a good one. The Eagle, great. You guys know my opinion on those. Excellent coin. And then they've got the Silver Eagles. The price on them, absurd. $23.16 as the low. We've got silver floating in the 14 range, and these guys are asking essentially almost $10 over spot for silver bullion. But wait till you see what they're buying it for. And even the gold, I've seen they're buying gold back at over $20 over spot. Again, this is showing us that the physical price of metal is completely disconnected and decoupled from the paper COMEX price. The COMEX price, the price you're seeing on CNBC or on any of the networks, the hourly and the 24-hour metal price generated by the 3 phone calls between the banks that occurs, that alone is old school archaic. That should not occur anymore. The free market price of physical metal for delivery is here. It's what you're seeing, what people are willing to pay for it to take delivery now. That's the price of metal. And people are doing it, and they're doing it in droves, and they're doing it globally. Just because your uncle or your aunt or you have made the decision to not purchase metals does not mean that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people around the world are making that move. Now, it takes capital, it takes people with some disposable income and some wealth to make this decision, and people are doing so. Now, we covered this months ago in September. Remember, the elite were vaulting gold. They had already made that move before this event took place. For the first time in a long time, the elite were vaulting serialized bars of gold and storing their wealth away in gold in preparation for something. Well, now we know what that something might be and is. So JM Bullion, they do have metal. They do have it. Now check the Silver Eagle price out. Boom. There you go. You can't get Silver Eagles from them for less than $24 an ounce. Again, $10 over spot. The only way you're going to get even to the $23.20 range, $23.20 still, about $9 over spot, is if you buy 1,500 of them, so 3 monster boxes worth, and you have to wire or check the money to them, which, some people might be able to do that. And again, they have a minimum order right now of $299. The thing I want to show you here is, look at the sell to us price down below. Can you see that? Look at the very bottom below free shipping. They will buy your Eagles for $18.71 right now, which means they are buying Silver Eagles for over $4 over spot. They're paying you more than $4 over spot to buy these, just to get supply to pass on to people who are willing to purchase them in the $23 range, $24 range, which means that's the price of silver. That is the price of silver, in my opinion here, looking at this. Silver is currently $23 to $24 an ounce. That's the price of silver. Maybe I should have my own ticker, the Junius Maltby ticker for silver price. And I'll show you the free market price, what it truly really is, because that is the price of silver. Do not be disheartened. Do not look at the price of silver and think, it's $14.50. I paid $18 for my Eagles, 3 years ago. No, you're sitting pretty, my friend. Your Eagles are worth over $24 per ounce. That's the price of silver. So what we're seeing here, again, disconnect in paper price. The FDIC's in panic. We've got trillions and trillions of dollars of stimulus in the pipeline coming down as soon as the clowns in D.C. can figure out their deal and mail everyone their helicopter money, which we did here predict, and many of you called it as well. The bailout money, it's coming. They're going to start pumping money into the system, which is only going to result in one thing, a further drive of the prices of metals. The only reason the dollar is holding strong right now is because it is a refuge. It's the leper with the most fingers left. A lot of the other currencies are rotting. It happens to be the reserve currency, so people are forced into it because the monopoly of currency exists. There is no competing currencies out there. They have a monopoly on their fiat empire, and that's what keeps the dollar propped up right now. Again, run to metals. It's looking good. It's happening, and I just appreciate each and every one of you who have tuned in and been part of this channel all of these years to get to this point to where we're seeing somewhat of a vindication for being the crazy stackers that we are. The gold hawks, the silver hawks, the silver stacker community, the gold stacker community, all of us together. I had a good little exchange with Sal privately yesterday, and we're looking forward to doing a live Salivate Metal and myself as soon as possible. I'll probably be over on his channel as a guest, and he and I will discuss some of these matters as soon as we can get that link up and running and getting going. Technology is always a difficult thing there, getting those happening. But again, thanks for tuning in, being part here of the channel. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. If you do wish to be one of those who support the channel, it's always appreciated. There's links for that. And I assure you it goes to the good cause here of motivating and keeping this channel up and running, keeping the lights on, paying the power bills to upload videos. Thank you all for being here, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a good rest of your evening. Big shout out to the supporters, those who have been there and supported this channel in the past. DW, the Christian channel, Enlightened Patriot, Paladin Stacker, who am I missing here? Jesus, so-and-so Jesus. Yes, I know I've seen you. You have done some of the super chat donations. I appreciate you as well, my friend. Thank you all, and have a good night.